Welcome back, everyone. I hope you all have enjoyed visiting our booths. Without further delay, let's hop on to our next panel discussion, that is, how technology is shaping the paradigm shift in the retail industry. Resilient supply chain, a new paradigm of retail. For which, I would like to welcome Mr. Vishwanath P., Head Strategy and Transformation Raymond Limited, Mr. Dr. Anil Chinnabandar, Senior Vice President, Retail Planning and Supply Chain Landmark Group, Mr. Manish Kaur, Head of IT, Patanjali Ayurved Limited, Mr. Asif Ali, Senior Executive, Integrated Marketing Group, Elets Technomedia. A very warm welcome to you all. Now, I would like to hand over the session to Mr. Asif Ali, Senior Executive, Integrated Marketing Group, Elets Technomedia, as he will be moderating the session. Over to you, Asif.
Thank you, Pratisha. Thank you for the brief introduction and warm welcome. First of all, I would like to welcome Mr. Anil, Mr. Manish, and Mr. Vishwanath for your time and to be a part of this panel and give your insightful and valuable views. As we know, like the audience will be very much keen and interested to understand and learn from your experiences. Quickly moving upon to the question, which is uh, as we all know, like due to this digital transformation or the things which are taking place, uh, the demand of the supply chain for as people are into buying and purchasing and going into very ease and accessibility on their part. So supply chain is taking a good hype, you can say, at this moment. So if you guys can make us understand like how technology can help build a safe, responsible and resilient supply chain. So for this, I would firstly ask, hand this mic over to Mr. Vishwanath, if you can throw some light on the same. Over to
Sure,
you, Mr. Vishwanath.
sure. Thank you. So see, today's consumer, right? And let's spend a minute with the consumer that we see today across any retail formats, be it fashion, be it FMCG. Uh, they are characterized by about three very important behaviors. Okay, number one is democratization of information. Now, what does this mean? That today's consumer is perhaps more aware of the products, of the ingredients in the products, than what a consumer used to be aware 10 years ago. So they are very aware of it, right? Uh, and therefore, we call it democratization of information. Everyone has access to information. Consumers have perhaps sometimes access to more information than what the retailers have. The second is a lot of consumers, because of mobile connectivity, and especially in India, it is always called as a always on lifestyle, right? uh, Almost 24 hours of the day, barring the 6-7 hours of somebody that sleeps and the daily rituals, every 5 minutes is an opportunity to stare at the screen, post something on Facebook or post something on Instagram, right? Look at what influencers are selling. So it's an always on lifestyle. And therefore, as a result of these two, there is the consumer expectation from a retailer or from an FMCG manufacturer or from a fashion company is increasing, right? They want global trends. Suddenly, if some nutrition in the US talks about some superfood, they want to see the superfood being advertised in India, right? Previously, it would have taken 10 years for the superfood phenomenon to come to India. But today, because of Facebook and Insta, the next month you will have a consumer asking, do you have this? And therefore, the demand for supply chain to ensure relevant products available on the shelf at the right moment, I think has increased manifold times, right? So that's my starting take of consumer behavior and why supply chain, the demand on supply chain has increased significantly. That's my take on it, right? Maybe I'll let the mic go on and then I could add some more points.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Vishnath, for your technology can help build a safe, responsible, and resilient supply chain.
Right, Asif, appreciate the opportunity, and then thank you for the organizers actually for organizing such a thought-provoking and a very, very timely kind of a discussion around this. I'd like to actually continue where Vish left actually from the previous, few words. It's an absolute, I mean, I'll probably go down a few more steps because our retail customer, apparel retail customer, it's actually she's the queen. We don't have any more kings around. She's the queen because it is that lady or the young woman of the, in the household with a smartphone in her hands. And like Vish was saying, it's like, a life is always on, like lights are always on kind of a situation wherein, I mean, she's really scanning in between her cooking, in between, kids dropping and dropping off or whatever, in between doing some banking. I mean, her eyes are always on us. That's why, we have a slogan, within Max Fashion called, look good, feel good. And then we also kind of, extend that slogan into see me anywhere, want me anywhere, touch me anywhere, and then I should be ready to service you. That's the kind of expectation that is there from the consumer side of things. Very, very unique situation. Thanks to the advent of the e-commerce, actually, for the last probably 8, 10 years I saw, and then expectation in terms of actually the deliveries and all that have really, really gone several folds high. In fact, thanks to COVID, in fact, COVID has definitely brought a lot of expectation onto the ground or onto the reality kind of a check. Because after all, if you didn't actually have that dress, or if you didn't have that particular coordinates or whatever, sky is not going to fall off, right? So I mean, we used to actually be very tolerant with a lot of our passion, a lot of our actually life choices and all that. Even if some ingredients were not available today, the shop, the local corner store will tell you, ma'am, it'll come in, maybe tomorrow or day after, and I'll send you a word, I'll send you a packet, how much do you want? That used to be the situation. But nowadays, even for a two-wheeler, what do we see? I want a white scooter, let's say. I will go to Suzuki. White scooter, he says, it will take 4 weeks for me. I'll say, no, that's not good. I'll go to Honda. Honda will say it'll take 3 weeks. Then I'll go to actually, maybe TVS. Then no, I'll go. It's like, it's going ongoing, right? The choice is actually huge. In fact, in terms of current market trends, be it in a two-wheeler, white goods, apparel, even grocery and all that. It is so much. I mean, so much so the likes of Amazons and Mintras and Flipkarts of the world, they have got a 2-hour delivery, 4-hour delivery, 8-hour delivery. What has that done? That has really set unreasonable expectations, actually, so to say. Why I'm saying this, because one side we talk about the opportunity, other side we have to also look at the sustainability as well. Now, when we talk about actually lot of vulnerabilities, or like we need to build redundancies and all that, we are talking about not building a lot of stocks, because a lot of us got caught actually during COVID when we had built up inventory. A lot of unsold inventory, ended up in fact, becoming a big showstopper for a lot of in fact businesses, and it became even showstopper as well. Fortunately for us, what we have done, actually, a lot of retailers, apparel retailers, we have now cut down the mind to market from 150, 180 days into probably, month and a half. So right now, what we are talking about, lean inventory, agile backend, tech driven, actually, the processes and so on. We've been talking about trying to be as truthful as possible, not only with our consumers, but even with our partners and the entire ecosystem. So that transparency level is definitely going to at least keep everybody on the same page. Even the consumer, let's say, if you are not able to, or if it is not sustainable for me to kind of do a 4-hour or an 8-hour in fact delivery, because let's say if there is some problem actually in the road network, or some problem has happened, at least the consumer is aware of that. Therefore, tech is very much an integral part of now. Tech is almost like the backbone of the backbone, which is supply chain, right? So in that sense, we definitely need to look at, rather than actually like we need to look at agility, and then being probably responsive, rather than looking at building resilient actually supply chain with safety stocks, with actually parallel vendors, with several actually alternates and all that, because it's not just viable, it is not sustainable. I mean, we are just recovering from COVID. And then I think, the resilience actually has a new definition, if you ask me. We will talk about that maybe in the next couple of probably questions. That's all I had to say, actually, Asif. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anil. Thank you, Mr. Anil, for your deep understanding and a brief uh, view on the this point, like how the things are changing, how the consumer behavior is also changing accordingly. So I would like to again quickly hand this mic over to Mr. Manish. If you can throw some light on the same, like how technology can help build a safe, responsible, and resilient supply chain.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Asif. Okay, so Vishwanath and then Mr. Anil. So, supply chain is again the related to the demand and supply. Okay, what is in the demand and what you are supplying, but the most relevant is at what cost, because cost is the important factor, and because what we produce and that we sell, but the supply chain is the method from production to the meeting the demand to the customer. Okay, so in supply chain, the technology, like nowadays we have the so many technology which are helping us to cut down the cost also, to do the right analysis, predictive analysis, like what the customer is want, where the particular shipment is, what the Mr. Anil said also. We can track it out, and once we are able to track it out, definitely we can reduce the time also for the supply to the customer, so that it can be reached to the customer in time. And definitely the cost of the logistics also can be reduced, because everybody knows, like, because in the manufacturing industry, produce and sending to the customer, whatever it is, like sending to the customer and reaching to the customer in their hand. So we have the shelf life also of the product. So so the technology is helping everywhere, um, from production. So supply chain is not only related to the logistics only nowadays, it is related to the uh, gathering the requirement from the customer and then meeting the requirement of the customer. In gathering the requirement of the customer, that what the customer want, for that, definitely what we want, the raw material processing, then sending to the warehouses, then sending to, so nowadays, like, we have the two variant of how we can supply to the customer our goods. One is, like, definitely, which was the older method, like retail mechanism, going to the distributor, super distributor, primary, tertiary, and then to the final, to the retailer, right? So this kind of method is there. So for that, what we required is definitely reduction in the cost of the logistics, and definitely cost in the cutting down the time also of the logistics, so that we can increase or improve the shelf life of the product. And in the e-commerce system also, nowadays, like, everybody is saying e-commerce, right? So definitely uh, in the FMCG industry, I am not seeing, like, definitely there is an improvement in the e-commerce business. So but still it is not, you can say that what we are selling to the customer through the retail, the same volume we are selling through the e-commerce also, but definitely that can be the 10 to the 20% of the total sale. So in both the cases, definitely technology is helping. If you are talking about that e-commerce, definitely technology is helping to build up the e-commerce platform. Then we can track. Then definitely we can pitch to the customer new products. What Mr. Anil said, like, new product is coming into the market, we can pitch to the customer. We can show to the customer, right? So there is a thing. And if you are talking about that legacy, like a retailer also, nowadays. Like, most of the company, they are using the distributor management system, or people say the dealer management system. So nowadays, that both the things are very advanced. Earlier, The technology was only like I'll say that, yeah, just generating the report, but they were not able to make the decision. But with the help of the AI, with the predictive analysis also, and so nowadays it is helping us also to make the better decision also, and in setting up the different type of process also. So technology is helping, definitely, to send the customers, to send the goods to the customer also, and saving the cost of the logistics also. And I'll say that, yeah, definitely selecting the customer also, like, we're talking about, like, with the help of the AI and ML, and then we have a lot of data which are coming from the different type of, uh, see, POS, right? Point of sale. So point of sale is the method, like, through which we sells the goods to the customer. So that helps us to know about the customer behavior also, buying patterns also. Uh, so these are all the technology things which are helping the supply chain. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Manish, for your views. Uh, so, as we all know, like Landmark Group, Patanjali, Raymond, all are like into huge expansion of like retail outlets, uh, like spreading upon to tier two, tier three cities also, and like going into delivering such what do you say uh, hassle-free supply chain processes, you can say. But right now we can see after like e-com also entering into this, and apart from that, lots and lots of technological shift which is taking place, and like consumer behavior also have changed a lot. So supply chain are facing numerous changes, and like contributing to the increasing in the complexity and vulnerability and distribution also. So how are you, or like like uh, moving ahead, how you are thinking like to like tackling this vulnerability or the complexity which is coming up ahead in the future? So I would like to ask this to Mr. Vishwanath, if you can like give your inputs on the same. Over to you, Mr. Vishwanath.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Right. So I think when we talk about supply chain vulnerability and what we are doing, and I think Mr. Manish correctly said, right, there is demand, there is supply, and the importance of supply chain comes because these two don't always match, right? So historically, we supply chain always built buffers. Now buffers invariably were in the terms of stocking. You could stock RM, WIP, finished goods, and you could stock them at various places depending on where you want the buffer. Now when COVID hit, and it hit globally everywhere, and after COVID also there has been huge global supply chain issues, right? I mean, Dr. Anil will tell, container issues is still a big problem which is impacting supply chain. So what has happened is, uh, pressure on profitability has made a lot of companies to say, why do we need to keep so much buffer, right? So the buffers have all gone down. When buffer goes down, the automatic assumption is the flow of material becomes smooth because there is no buffering to manage your shocks. But when supply chain got tested because containers movement got affected, uh, it has created a whole lot of chaos in supply chain, right? Now what are some of the better companies doing? And for example, what we have done is we have consciously said, how do we therefore link all our supply chain participants? Like, so there is a vendor, there is a contractor, there is a sub worker, a job worker, then obviously there is our own trade channel, etc. How can we bring the supply and demand equation transparent to everyone in the equation, right? And these are changing by the day, by the hour. Just when we thought that COVID is perhaps over and it will be life as normal, we all know there is a geopolitical risk now, right? Oil prices have shot up, uh, commodity prices are shooting, so we don't know what is going to happen in the next 2 months to our economy, right? It is a shock. So therefore, what we have started doing is to say, how can we ensure visibility of demand and supply across the value chain? And here, technology plays a very, very important part because historically, if you see, uh, every company had two, three systems, right? There is a front end system, which is a system in which they build the customer or the retailer's operator, the POS. And then there was a back end system, which was the billing, the ERP, and etc. To ensure supply chain becomes efficient, you need to very tightly interlink the back end systems and the front end, right? It may sound very theoretical and very simple, but maybe half the supply chain problems can get resolved if this linkage of applications happens smoothly, right? The second point is globally also what we have seen in the fashion industry, for example, is that companies have started working with lesser number of vendors. So going forward, it will be deeper partnerships with lesser vendors. Now that works to some advantage to the supply chain because as against dealing with maybe 50 vendors, you end up dealing with 25. So the variables decrease, you have greater partnerships, and your supply chain becomes more agile, right? Uh, but yes, specifically what technology aspects, maybe I'll reserve that for the later moment. But for the time being, I will rest my case saying uh, it start the supply chain resilience starts with having a transparent view of supply and demand for all the vendors, and it starts with how are companies able to integrate their front end and their back end applications. uh, Without these two, I think the building block of a resilient supply chain, we may not be able to proceed. That's my view, and maybe I'll pass on the mic to Mr. Anil and Mr. Manish.
Thank you, Mr. Vishwanath, for your views. Again, the same, question handing over to Mr. Manish. Your views, as we have seen, Patanjali also expanding a lot into, retail outlets into tier two, tier three cities where lots and lots of complexity and vulnerability related to distribution is taking place. So, how supply chain are facing numerous changes, contributing to the increased demand. So, your take on the same, Mr. Manish. Over to you.
Okay, so again, Vishwanath was telling the what was the I was impressed like what he was saying, the buffer, right? So buffer, keeping the buffer is always the biggest challenge in the industry, right? So like when you are saying that you are supplying, right? So we have the two things uh, uh, like um, in the manufacturing industry, we say that first of all the term is called the OTIF kind of that, right? So uh, what maximum you can deliver or what best you can deliver to the customer uh, in the supply chain, right? So what he is demanding and what you are delivering, when or how much you are delivering. So earlier, there was a big challenge. Even I have seen everywhere in the different manufacturing industry I have worked, like because uh, we have we don't lose we have something like we make, we store, then we supply. Okay, then making and doing the supply, the storing comes, and when you say storing is a buffer, and then buffer has a cost. So the why the buffer has a cost, because you don't have the exact information about when you have to supply the goods. But because of the technology things, so what I said to you, like because seeing that like with the help of the AI, ML, and different kind of predictive analysis, we can reduce the buffer what we have. So once we reduce the buffer, then we know that what the customer is demanding and what we are supplying, and the buffer is, it's buffer, I mean to say, like buffer is something what is a safe stock kind of that you can say. But if the safe stock is huge and you're not supplying, that is the loss to the company. And if you don't keep the buffer and the demand is high, then you won't be able to supply. So with the help of the technology, you can reduce the buffer but you can increase the supply. So you can say that uh, your fill ratio can be improved with the help of the technology. So where you can have right analysis with the help of the AI. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manish, for your views. I would again quickly hand this mic over to Mr. Anil. If you can, give your views on like supply chains are facing numerous changes in contributing, to increase their complexity and vulnerability to distribute. So, what are your takes on this?
Well, Asif, I think we actually have been talking about supply chain control towers in the recent months, actually, and then maybe the last 12 to 18 months, the supply chain control towers have become almost like a buzzword in the industry, wherein, like what Vish was trying to tell us about integrating the both front end and the back end, right? Not only the front end, the back end. I guess every part of your business, right from let's say even design or conceptualization all the way to the market, right, mind to market, what we call it as, right, every stage of actually the activity or the transaction or the thought processes have to kind of converge and then kind of get into a common platform or be available in a single platform, which is typically in some sense actually, it's actually a supply chain control tower. So what happens actually, again, Manish touched upon actually on a couple of those things as well. So right from procurement, be it actually at the raw material stage or as sub-assembly stage or even actually some of the intermediate stages or whatever, all the way until it becomes a finished goods and then gets into the distribution channel and goes from maybe a mother DC to a regional DC to actually the retail shops and things like that. Every part of the journey has to probably be captured in that is on the forward journey. At the same time, until it goes into the hands of the consumer, plus if there are any return issues as well, that entire journey has to be actually kind of captured and encapsulated actually into a single kind of a platform, which is essentially actually the supply chain control tower, which will have visibility, availability to all the stakeholders. So how does it actually help us? If you look at actually an example, let's say we have released a dress of a particular gown or a marriage dress or something like that, right? We would have made 20,000 pieces of them actually. Now we would have done that actually, let's say in Tirupur. It is this been selling actually right across the country. Let's say in Guwahati there is actually a particular, in fact, an interest on a particular color or a particular style or a silhouette. In fact, if there is a demand there, how quickly can I translate the demand into the manufacturing actually back in Tirupur? Because let's also understand, Tirupur to Kolkata to actually Guwahati, the transit time itself is close to 7 to 10 days. So how can I make these actually the replenishments be available at Guwahati, not with 15 days later, but maybe 3 days or 4 days into the journey? That is the trick, right? That is the opportunity what is begging actually. That's what we were talking about, keeping buffer versus actually maintaining agility, right? Because they both are contradicting to each other. So if you are able to kind of keep sensing the demand, because this is where demand forecasting has gone through the roller shutter doors already, because you don't have what is called as forecasting anymore, particularly in the apparel retail, because that's only as good as if everything is NTP, normal temperature pressure, right? But nothing is under NTP right now, particularly, thanks to the COVID, as well as to all sorts of, the volatilities that is around us in the ecosystem. So the forecasting is gone through the window. Now, what do we have? We have to get really good at demand sensing. The quicker we sense the demand and the quicker we are able to act onto that using things like, control towers and so on, which are, by the way, they are run actually with the AI, ML, as well as predictive, prescriptive analytics and all those things actually, right? So combination of all these things is what is going to make your probably supply chain journey or the business journey actually as smooth as possible, with minimalized opportunity losses. In fact, I wouldn't rule out any opportunity losses, because when we are trying to run an agile system, when you are trying to run something actually of just in time kind of a system, there are actually chances that you might run out of actually opportunities. because India as a country is not as robust as any other Western country in terms of transportation, infrastructure, in terms of actually mobility, all those things. With all those challenges, we still actually have to make a sustainable kind of arrangements so that we are able to act on some of these opportunities. That's all probably I would like to say and leave it. Asif, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Anil, for your views on the same. Yep, it is actually like, according to the time, or you can say according to the transformation, or like according to the shift which is taking place, we have to be very agile and think upon it and then act upon it accordingly. So as we all know, like Vishwanath from Raymond, Manish from Patanjali, and Anil from Mr. Anil from Landmark Group. You guys are like the key players, or you can say the prominent names from the industry of from the retail industry. So as we all know, this era, which is like during this 2020 to 2030, this era will be basically related to the new the new players entering into market, and we can also see new or like there will be a lot of new players, or already existing player also, those who are like looking upon to you to expand their business, or you can say like grow their business into this retail industry. So what will be the key takeaways you would like to, or you can say the best practices you would like to suggest them to this paradigm shift which is taking place in the retail industry? So I would like to quickly take this view from Mr. Vishwanath. If you can, give your key trends or key best practices, which are shaping the shift in the retail industry. Over to you, Mr. Vishwanath.
Sure, thanks. So, I mean, be it a new player or an existing player, one of the views which I would like to state, and this we are seeing across a lot of fashion companies globally, is this essence of understanding the return on investment, the ROI of physical retail outlets. Okay, because today with omni-channel, the physical store is also servicing online orders, right? Uh, a, a customer may come, look at the product, touch and feel it in the store, but go home and order it through the mobile. Now, all those permutation combinations are possible. Therefore, how do we validly evaluate retail ROI is a big challenge. Okay, and a lot of companies are questioning the traditional ROI metrics. For retail, typically people go by sales per square feet, or GMROF, which is gross margin rupee per square feet, and so on. But how do we do this in the era where the consumer can search online, buy online, but come and collect it to the store, or search online, come to the store, buy it, but return offline? All those things are open. So that's number one. Number two, I think a lot of companies are still have not understood the power of using consumer data, right? Some of the new age companies which have become digital first are doing a better job, and I hate to admit it, but the digitally born companies, right? It can be a D2C food business, or a D2C fashion business, or a D2C FMCG business, whatever. But I think some of those companies have really mastered uh, how do you look at a niche customer segment, how do you understand his or her behavior and service that customer. And because they are born digital first, their ability to look at the entire supply chain through an asset light digital model is much easier. Whereas if you take a traditional organization such as ours, I mean, we have been in existence for 97 years. So we have factories, we have people working there, right? It's easy for somebody from the outside to tell, become consumer centric, become digital first. But when the rubber meets the road, for large organizations such as ours, uh, there's a lot of discovery that we need to do. So that's point number two. For uh, slightly older organizations trying to become digital, that's the second. The third is, as I said, uh, there are still a lot of gaps when core business functions, which is the ERP, whichever ERP the companies run, how do they get information from the front end consumer data, and how is that used maybe for product planning? How is that used for SNOP, which is sales and operations planning? How is that used for the supply chain OTIF? Uh, I think these would be the three areas where I would maybe say a lot of thinking and maybe an outside in thinking has to be applied if you have to win this in the next 3 years.
Thank you, Mr. Vishwanath. Very, very, very well explained by you. If keep like the new players or the existing player want to enter into it, they have to be a little bit aware regarding this three key pointers which you have mentioned. The same question I would like to throw it upon to Mr. Anil. If you can give your key trends or key best practices which you would like to suggest to the new players or the existing players which look upon to your feedback and suggestion on the same. Over to you, Mr. Anil.
Yeah, thanks again, Nasif. I guess we are again at a different stage or a different kind of a probably galaxy. I'd like to, if I can use that word. In fact, compared to what Vishwanath was actually trying to tell us. Thanks to the again advent of the e-commerce guys, we being fashion apparel retailers, uh, we actually have already kind of surpassed all of that. For example, most of our systems are tightly integrated. Most of our systems are actually pretty much in real time, not even batches actually run and things like that. And then again, the likes of Mintras have really forced us to kind of stay in touch, very very close touch with the consumer and so on, right? So those journeys have already been embarked upon. I mean, whether we have an age-old actually ERP system in the back or an MDS in fact in the back end and so on, and then we might be using actually a different modern systems actually for the order management or actually the the customer fronting and then customer acquisition and so on. Plus also how do we integrate the entire inventory? So it doesn't matter. For example, currently in Landmark Group, what we actually do that, or what we do is in fact we don't have only we not only have 6 warehouses actually to service some of these orders. We actually use more than 100 stores to service the online orders, to service actually the endless aisle orders. For example, a customer can walk into a store. If she has a plus size, for example, it will not be available readily in the store. However, she can actually order it from the store and it will be given delivered to her doors in 2 days time, or overnight in fact. So that's a kind of a offering we have actually been doing in terms of being able to survive and then kind of sustain that kind of an opportunity. You need to kind of not only integrate the entire backend systems, but also you need to have best of breed solutions to cater to each and every one of these. For example, single view inventory is an important part of actually the overall scheme of things right now, because I cannot afford to duplicate my inventory holding at multiple locations. It's very costly proposition for all of us. Therefore, I might choose to have the entire winter wear, let's say in north, and I might choose to actually service entire winter wear, in fact, the orders from north itself. Similarly, if I want to have a single warehouse in Bangalore and then service the entire country, because my connectivity is really good, I'm able to touch every metro city within 48 hours and so on. So my ability to actually service every customer actually from a single place is far better, because my overall inventory holding is at a single place. My serviceability goes up, and then also my customer service satisfaction also goes up. So there are a number of things actually involved in this, right? NPS is becoming a very important part for all of us, net promoter score, which means every time I miss actually something to supply to a customer, she goes onto the Facebook or the Instagram or actually whatever social media that she likes, and then I'm going to get bombarded with that. I mean, the current situation is such that I may be good at 98% of the orders. Two people I mess up with, they will spoil my happiness. So I can't afford to do that. So the D2C or actually the online business has really put us on the anvil. Therefore, there are a number of systems on customer acquisition, fulfillment, last mile delivery, most importantly the returns journey as well, because currently India is one of the very few countries around the globe, I can say, tell you this with a lot of confidence, because I do have traveled actually even in the recent probably months, in fact, US, Australia, and Singapore, and then also parts of other European countries as well. Nobody offers no questions returns. It's only in India, in Indian consumer are actually, they have been spoiled with this kind of actually opportunity, where a woman can actually order a size L, size M, size S. If you are lucky, she will buy one of that, or else she will return all three at no cost to her, and she will go and order something else actually, right? This kind of a return journey is a nightmare for the supply chain fraternity. Remember, I mean, we will be actually incurring hundreds of actually rupees, in fact, for no sale at all. So that being the case, you need to be really tuned on with every possible sensing system, every possible engagement system, every possible communication channel that is available between you as a company and the consumer, to make sure that one sale is successful and the customer is happy. That's the trick. For that, you have number of systems actually that it's available, best of breed, or some of the bigger players and so on, part of the ERP and so on. We need to probably look at industry wise, and then kind of embrace that kind of a technology. So all in all, your customer satisfaction is very, very important, but at the same time you need to look at your own sustainability, your own survival actually, because without margins, without profit, you can't survive. So both are definitely a bigger challenge. As if
Thank you, Mr. Anil, for this very interesting, insightful, and suggestion for the audience which are listening to us right now. So again, the same question I would would like to shift to Mr. Manish, as Patanjali into the same sector, but into different industry, like basically into FMCG, goods, and all. So would like to understand from you, Mr. Manish, what will be the key trends or best practices you would like to suggest to the new or the existing player who look upon to you and your practices into the retail industry. So what do you, Mr. Manish?
Asif, so uh, either it's like pharma, it's garments, or it's landmark, whatever it is. So what the management aspect, a profit, and how the company runs with profit. Okay. So and like Vishwanath said, ROI, customer satisfaction, Anil said, and then supply, and so everything is depend upon the saving the money. Honestly, I'm telling you, right? So everybody knows, like we all are the CIO sitting here. The management aspects towards the IT is how they cut down the cost of the product, okay, and how the technology can help in cutting down the cost. So see, this is the uh, honest feedback what I have, right? So cutting down the cost with the help of the technology. So this is the first factor always, right? Second thing is that definitely the quality, improvement in the quality. So improvement in the quality in terms of the supply chain is the fill rate. So what best fill rate we can give with the help of the technology. And already these gentlemen already told that with the help of the previous data, because we are the company, we are not into the main we are into the again I'm saying that we keep the buffer, right? So the and buffer has a cost. So again so everybody works on the same direction, how they can reduce the cost of the supply chain. And the first thing is like reducing the buffer. Second thing is that increasing the fill rate. Third thing is cut down the cost in the logistics. Fourth, in terms of that returns. And fifth is in terms of that, I'll say, making the distributor supplier happy. Right. So how they with the different type of schemes that we called. Okay. So technology is helping in all the 5 domains. Okay. And and these are the key things, right? All the even the people who are listening me and who are sitting with us, And these are the 4 or 5 key things which makes the business run. Production and selling. Without a profit, no value. Production and selling with a profit has a value. So, so all the companies like either it's a Patanjali or it's like whoever it is, right? Any kind of manufacturing. So they are working for the profit so that they can keep on business. They keep on running their business. And again, the supply chain is not related to only the logistic nowadays. Earlier, Dr. Anil also said that is related to the, we call is the MRP, right? That is the material requisition planning. So which is related to that, keeping the raw material as less as possible in your warehouse. So with the help of the ERP, because Mr. Vishwanath also that said that backend system and the front end system. What is the backend system? It is like we can say this is the P2P cycle, procure to pay cycle kind of that for the raw material, and then front end system is that is the O2C, right? Order to cash cycle or go to the market cycle, right? So and but there should not be any difference between the P2P and O2C. So if you can minimize the difference between P2P and O2C, definitely then you can bring the value to the organization, and that will help to save the cost also. So this in this direction Patanjali is also working, and we have the different type of technology right now. Definitely MRP we are using. We have the MRP, then we have the RFID also, then we have the monitoring of the vehicles also, like so that we can reduce the cost of the logistics also. So we are using the different type of, like we are using the AIM also. We are using the IoT also, right? So these are the different technology, and definitely we have the customer experience also. We take the customer experience, customer feedback, customer footfall also, and then keep on keeping an eye on the what is the next thing in demand, so that we can supply to the customer. And definitely along with that, bring, you know well that Patanjali is a company which is creating their own space in the marketplace. So we generate the demand also, and we make the product also to generate the demand. So for that, R&D is also very much required. So we keep on working on the different type of R&Ds also. So this is a complete life cycle, Asif. Supply chain is a complete life cycle nowadays. This is also related to the production also, right? So because like what we call MRP is almost related to the production part area, right? So supply chain is a complete cycle from buying to selling to the customer. उसके बीच में जो पैसा निकालना वो निकालना है, that is the saving. And here the CIO or IT head plays the role with the help of the technology. Okay, thank you, Asif.
Thank you, Mr. Manish, for your views on the same. Yep, very well said. Like the new players or the existing players itself, or like whoever are like into like dealing or like going ahead with this business expansion or anything, they need to be very well equipped and need to be very well keep tracking of the partners or something so that they can uh, improve their technological things or like the shift which towards which they're moving and how they can ease down the accessibility and everything to give good or better experiences to the consumer with their organization or industry. So we know like when like we have got eminent panelists and all, so it takes us like into flow to discuss more and more insightful and deep discussions. But we have got very limited time slot, so I would like to quickly uh, go for the last question of the panel discussion. So we have seen like a lot of transformational things which is taking place. Many uh, like challenges which are coming up into this industry. So would like to understand like what are the key challenges, and is the industry well prepared to embrace more robust solution to tackle the challenges?
So,
So
Asif, I
would
would
like
like
to.
to answer this first, then I have to leave. Okay. So,
Sure, sure,
most
sure.
important is interconnectivity. What Vishwanath said, right? If you have the streamline of the technology from your buying process to the selling process, right? So, then you can streamline the things also, and you can remove the challenges also. Second thing is the opting the new technology, like we have the RPA, we have the robotics, we have the IoT, we have the industry 4.0 also, right? So these are the different technology which is coming, and definitely they are doing some value addition also. I'll not say that they are doing the value addition 100%, but you can say they are filling some small patches we have. Somewhere RPA is pitching the gap with the RP, with the help of the RPA. Definitely, you are cutting down the time also, and then you are increasing the accuracy level also with the help of the RPA. With the help of the robotics, you are improving the quality of the product also, and then you are reducing the time of the production also with the help of the robotics. With the help of the IoT and other things, you are reducing the breakdowns, you are increasing the OE, you are increasing the other factor, like in the in utility, you are improving the power factors. Then so the and then if you talk about the other supply chain technology, so these are the different technology. With the combination of all these technology, you can mitigate the challenges what we have right now, from the production to the supply. Okay, thank you, Asif. So now I want to take a leave.
Thank you, Manish, for your insightful views. Uh, I would like to quickly take this question upon to Mr. Vishwanath. Like, if you can give your views, like, what are the key challenges, and is the industry well prepared to embrace more robust solution to tackle the challenges?
Right. No, so I think the challenges. I think the biggest challenge I see is a lot of us need to just change the way we look at different problems. Right. For example, um, owning of assets versus accessing assets. There's two different. Okay. Today, a lot of computational power, which is applications and server, can be got by on a pay-per-use method. No need to buy the entire software, right? So one of the first things we should all do is to start looking at innovative ways where we get processing power, we get the software and the hardware, but not invest upfront. Instead, go for pay-per-use kind of systems, which helps because a lot of companies may not be in a position to commit huge capex for some of these initiatives. Second point is, uh, I think people touched upon this. We need to move to a culture where information and data is not in a single silo, right? I think Dr. Anil mentioned about the supply chain towers, right? uh, I think what the supply chain control tower does is to really say that, look, these are 7 KPIs, and this is the value of the KPI across the value chain. So it's giving them, all of them, access to the same information in a very objective manner. I think that is a second change we will need to bring. Third is, uh, in a lot of cases, I realize today's supply chain is stressed due to various problems. Correct. Therefore, it is important for a lot of supply chain managers and supply chain heads to look at how we can look at building in that buffering in the capacity, in the ability. Like, because if you do a sales and operations planning, uh, I'm very sure Dr. Anil will agree uh, that today the sales and operations plan, the sales planning undergoes changes maybe every week, right? And the numbers are very different. Correct. It's not 5% change which supply chain can accommodate. Sometimes it's a 30% change or a 40% change. uh, I think we need to work on saying that what are the stress limits that our existing system can manage, and then work around these constraints in a very objective manner. I think these three would be the three big challenges. uh, is the industry tailored? Yes, I see a lot of software enablement happening. I see a lot of applications coming which can be used with existing applications, right? It's not necessary to invest in a completely new software. A lot of applications which can run on your own existing ERP. You can take a cloud and make it run on your on-prem ERP. So technology is coming in, but change managing, and I think the important point is technology adoption without understanding what we want to solve is equally troublesome, right? Don't invest in technology because your competitor has invested. Invest in technology because you believe that these are four matrices which you want to improve, and you know that this technology helps you improve. I think I would perhaps leave it at that level and maybe pass it on to Dr. Anil.
Thank you, Mr. Vishwanath, for your views. Yeah, quickly handing out your views, Mr. Anil, on the same.
As if like Vish was talking about, it's an extension of that. I guess like today's technology, I mean, no business is actually having the patience or the tolerance or even the opportunity itself. I mean, they don't even have the luxury of waiting for months together, years together for implementation, rollouts, and all that. Whatever technology is available, it's got to be actually kind of rolled out actually today and now, or even yesterday. That's the kind of the urgency is there actually with most of the technologies. Fortunately, most of our service providers are actually with that same mindset. I mean, none of them are actually asking for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months of rollout and so on, unless it's a major ERP or major actually the enterprise level actually solutions and so on. But then most of the customer facing or even customer acquisition or the partner management, be it a vendor partner or a transport partner or even a last mile delivery partner, all of those things are available relatively plug and play basis, like what Vish was talking about, and also it's easy to kind of use it, and you don't need also serious level of hardware and all that, which means you'll have to wait for the lead time of actually the servers and so on. None of those things are a problem right now. So most of the industry and the partners actually understand the need and the urgency of that. That's on one side. Actually, on the other side, consumer trends are changing by the day, and then it's not only like we have to make changes quickly. Sometimes the entire lot what has been made may not even actually sell, which means you can't even keep it on the floor because you have less space. You have a lot of actually pressure for the space management as well. Therefore, you have to even remove the whole thing. You'll have to kind of write off actually some of your investments actually quickly, so that you don't actually cause further leakage or further actually damage to the overall the revenue system and so on. So your actions need to be really on the spot, and then kind of keep on acting very very quickly and even take some hard calls. But then the good part is information is available for everyone to see it. It is a lot more transparent actually, the view right now of the overall situation, be it the inventory or the production or the customer acquisition or the last mile or even the reverse logistics as well. So all in all, the ecosystem has actually matured to a greater level. Only thing is you need to definitely take it up. And then the biggest probably the problem right now that the industry is facing is the talent, not the technology, not actually not anything else, in fact, with your partners and so on. It is a talent to manage some of these things. I mean, we do not have enough number of people who can understand the problem and kind of come up with a solution. There are technologies available, but the enablement actually has to happen from the people's intervention, right? So that part we need to kind of focus and kind of educate our own teams, actually multi-skill them or cross skill them, and so that we are actually having teams to manage this information and take quicker action. That is probably the biggest challenge, which is what I would like to leave the audience with actually. Thank you, Asif.
Thank you, Mr. Anil. Very well said. Like from your end, like it's not basically that technology is basically the talent to cope up with the technology which is taking place in the shift which is taking place. So with this, I would like to conclude this session and thanks Mr. Anil, Mr. Vishwanath, and Mr. Manish for your valuable time and great insight over the session. Thank you. Thanks a lot, and over to you, Pratisha.
Welcome.
Thank you everyone for joining with us today and sharing such valuable views. Also, I would like to thank Asif for such wonderful moderation of the session. It was one great, insightful session indeed. Now, as a token of appreciation, I would like to present the appreciation certificate to Mr. Vishwanathan P., Head Strategy of Transformation, Bremen Limited. A very thank you, sir. Thank you for joining with us today. Dr. Anil Chinna Bandar, Senior Vice President, Retail Planning and Supply Chain, Landmark Group. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining with us today. Manish Kaur, Head of IT, Patanjali Ayurved Limited. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining with us today. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And
You're
thank you,
welcome.
everyone. Thank you for this wonderful forum.
Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, all of you. Take care. Bye bye.